Hey fellow mobs, Moby here. Welcome to Armored Legends. In this series, we interview some of the best players in the world and have them share their strategies, builds, and tech. Today, I have something very special for you. The Zimmer-Shield is a fearsome build you'll commonly find terrorizing the top ranks and in tourneys. I have with me right now Risa of the West and 432 of the East, both widely attributed to being the best players of this archetype.
はい、皆さんご視聴ありがとうございます。結城Yomiziと申します。私はアーマードコア大会メインで活動しているYouTube の配信者です。いつもは盾で攻撃をさばくのが好きで、盾10ショットガンの近距離の読み合いを楽しんでプレイしています。今回はモビさんに声をかけていただき光栄です。どうぞよろしくお願いします。アーマードコアという作品にはとても興味があったのですが、もともと任天堂のゲームが好みのものが多くて、プレイステーションよりも Wii だったりスイッチのゲームをよく遊んでました。なのでアーマードコアを遊ぶきっかけがなかなかつかめていなかったのですが、ちょうどゲーミング PC を買おうとしていたタイミングでアーマードコアの新作の発表があったので、やるしかないと思って始めることになりました。
Hello, my name is Risa. I started playing AC6 as soon as it was available. When I first started playing, I was just going through the different Twitch channels that were streaming the game, and I found Strikers, and I also saw that he was like hosting fight clubs. So I joined one time, and it went very well. Striker and his community is like super wholesome and kind, so that really helped me to stick with it. I've always been a very competitive person in pretty much every single game that I play. That's how I have fun with games, and it's by being as competitive as possible. I come from mobile games, I come from like League of Legends. In League, since day one, I've been a jungle main, and I'm also an Evelyn one trick, and my peak in that game has been Grandmaster. I would say that the playstyle itself would be Rushdown. As for the build, I just call it Zimmer-Shield, but some people call it just the 432 build since he was the first to like popularize the build in particular. The playstyle itself is just like using Assault Boost, usually paired with Pure Soul boosters, to rush down your enemy while doing a lot of damage with a weapon of choice, in my case Zimmerman's. Although, I'm not sure I would call my build like strictly a rushdown build, even though that's a core part of it. That's not all that it is. The reason why my build works as well as it does is because of its adaptability. Depending on the matchup, the optimal way to play changes. Against some builds, this build can be a kite, this build can be a rat. Cover play is also extremely important, although implementing cover play right now is harder because of the new maps. They lack actually good covers, so that's unfortunate, but it's a build that can basically beat virtually everything as long as you adapt correctly.
対応力がよく高いと言われます。戦うたびに戦法を最適化していくのが早いみたいで、なんか友人とかにはよく夜道にダウンロードされたみたいなことを言われます。相手の動きを観察しながら戦う動きだったりとか、読み合いが盾ととても相性がいいからだと思います。
Pre-patch, my build was a bit different. Pre-patch, it used to be Barrel Head because of the very good stats with very good scan. It used to have also BE48 core, Ephemera arms, and Tianchang legs, as well as BPMs. In this new patch though, I changed a few things around. I replaced the Barrel Head with the BP44D head due to its lower weight, while still being a top choice in terms of like stat density and scan. I replaced Ephemera arms with the Melander C3 arms for similar reasons, just for it to be a bit like lower in weight while still having good stat density. And then since BPMs were nerfed in the new patch, I replaced them, and I've tried just a variety of different things. I tried MLT10s for a bit, they're a good choice. Javelin beta can also kind of work in certain matchups, but in the end I chose to stick with drones instead because of their punish potential, and also because you can just send them out before a fight even starts to get some chip damage in, so that's also good. Drones can be pretty tricky to dodge, although like most top players, they know how to dodge them, but it still adds like a layer of pressure that they have to play around, so that's always good. Tianchang legs are a very good balance between both of the other legs, the snail legs and the wrecker legs. The problem with the wrecker legs is that their energy load is gigantic. I would need to change up some of my other parts of my current build in order to use the wrecker legs comfortably, because I would get 2500 supply efficiency, which is not ideal for this build. And then snail legs, they're also very good, but they're very, very heavy. So for me, Tianchang, apart from being my favorite legs just in general, they are good middle point.
自分は大会によく出場するので、一つのアセンに大きく不利がついてしまうアセンにならないように気をつけています。どんな相手が来ても最低でもリフリぐらいの相性差に収まるような、汎用性を突き詰めるのがコンセプトです。まず武器構成なんですが、重所と盾の組み合わせは同じで、アップデート後はレーザードローンから10連ミサイルへ変更しました。理由としてはバーゼルの弱体化によってアサルトブーストの速度が落ち、軽4脚などの軽量で下がる機体へ追いつくことが、かなり難しくなってしまったんですね。レーザードローンは、スタッガー火力がとっても上がってタンクインファイト機体への、効果がすごく高いんですが、アサルトブースト速度が下がった状態でレーザードローンを積むと、軽4脚に勝てないので変更を余儀なくされたという形です。10連ミサイルに関しては長時間前方向への回避を誘うことができまして、それによって引き機体相手に難しいアサルトブーストの影響を少なくしています。また10連ミサイルはスタッガーコンボ中に組み込むと火力を上げることができるので、スタッガー延長によって拘束時間の長いショットガンと相性がいいと感じてます。脚部は、レッカー足を使用してます。もともと使用していたダーフォンの12足よりも重量が2000ほど下がって軽量機を追いやすくなることと、最近頭角を現している、ニードルガン、ここの対策で姿勢安定を重視した足にしています。ただその代わりにエネルギーの防御がかなり落ちてしまうため、腕とコアで EN 防御をある程度確保してます。腕は芭蕉腕が採用候補でしたが、2度ガンの K2 に対して射撃適性が足りていなかったために、重量と防御性能のバランスのいいエフェメラ腕を採用してます。コアに関しては、EN 防御、あとは EN 供給効率を意識したアーキバスコアを採用してます。これはレッカー足だと EN 負荷が大きいので、そこを緩和するような目的もありますね。EN 防御をこれほど重視しているのは主にガチタン対策になります。現環境のガチタンは LCB、ネビュラなどの高火力の EN 武装を積むことが多いのと、軽量を追うための10連またはレッカー足採用の軽量化によって火力と防御力をかなり落としてしまったので、ガチタンと戦う時に AP リードを取ることがかなり難しくなったためです。そして頭は VP の 44D ですね。もともとエフェメラ頭を採用していたんですが、少しでも防御性能を残したまま軽量化を意識した結果、この頭の採用になりました。下がってしまうシステム復元性能は、スタンガンに対しては盾があって対策可能なことと、スキャン性能の低下に関しては新しいマップでは入り組んだ地形がちょっと少なくてスキャンの優先度が下がるので、ちょっと切って軽量化を目指しています。
So Risa, from what I understand, you play a little bit differently from 432. Is that correct?
So basically the way that he plays is how most Zimmer-Shield users play in Japan, and it's basically by being very, very patient, defensive, and like quote-unquote passive, basically trying to make the opponent be the aggressor. Whereas me and other like Western players, we were more aggressive. But I think over time, Western players ended up becoming more adaptable as well, depending on the situation, depending on the matchup. So I think that the playstyle is like very, very similar nowadays. It's not as different as it used to be.
Why exactly do you use the Zimmerman shotguns?
They're just good impact building weapons in general. The way that you use the Zimmermans against another shield user is that you don't really want to shoot them at the same time. You want to stagger your shots. You want to shoot one and then the other and then the other. And this is for basically to maximize uptime, especially against shield users, and just in general it's a good thing to do. And this is done so that they don't like instant guard all of your damage. And if they do instant guard it, their shield just gets overheated faster because they have to shield separate shots as opposed to like both at the same time. Especially in the current patch, you do need the range of the Zimmermans. For instance, when you're chasing down the new lamb kites, I'm basically always shooting the Zimmermans at maximum range because I usually can't really get very, very close to them, and you cannot really do that with the Sweet 16. Zimmermans are just a fantastic weapon that can be very, very flexible depending on what you need. Sweet 16s can do a lot of damage, but they require you to be extremely close to your opponent, which is not always realistic.
重所の延長コンボは重所を使う以上は絶対に覚えてほしいです。スタッガーを取るときに重所1本でスタッガーを取って1秒ほど待ってからもう1本のショットガンを撃って追加でよろけを取って蹴りを入れる。そうすれば1秒ほどディレイをかけた分で最初の重所のリロードが蹴りの後にちょうど終わって撃つことができるようになるので、ダメージがかなり伸びます。ぜひ使ってください。
Yeah, and doing like stagger extensions like this is just good in general to give you a bit more time to reposition, or if you need to disengage to reset your ACS bar to not get staggered. So this is also very important. There's all sorts of tech that can be useful depending on the situation. For instance, triangle boosting, which consists of strafing to the side while assault boosting, and then immediately cancelling it with a back quick boost. This is called triangle boosting because that's like sort of the shape that you do when you do this tech. This is especially good to do when your enemy is trying to kite you by going above you. It's basically very important to do in general to like cancel your assault boost just in any direction is good to do for quickly repositioning, and that's very important to just have in mind, to not just cancel out your assault boost and then that's it. You also want to have in mind where exactly you're gonna be going after you finish your assault boost, so just canceling it with a quick boost is always good. There's also kick deathfall and ledge deathfall. So this tech is used specifically to negate stagger punish. In order to deathfall, all you need to do is just kick in the air as you get staggered. This makes you free fall in the air and denies the melee punish potential. The ledge variety of this tech basically works in the same way, but you need to be standing next to a ledge in order for the stagger to push you into a free fall, because when you get staggered you get like a bit of a knockback, so you abuse that in order to free fall from a ledge. This particular tag, the ledge free fall, I would say is not as ideal as it used to be, and that's because of the new maps. There's not a lot of like places that you can abuse for this, unfortunately.
大会レベルの台で苦しいのは、2度スラーの K2、またガチタン、あとは K4 ですね。ただ汎用機体ではあるので相性はビフリぐらいで勝機は十分あります。逆になんかダブルネビュラ、ダブル LCB ガチタンだったりとか、ロブスターとかのもう引き機体を完全に捨ててる代わりに近距離機体にもうかなり強いような、そういったいわゆる特化機に関してはちょっと苦しいかなと思います。銀色でメタル感を出しつつ骨格的な部分にはメタリックのブルーを使っていて、近未来的な、メカらしさの中にちょっと別の生命体が宿っているような、そういうイメージで配色をしています。あとは、後付けなんですが、オールマインドが好きなのでオールマインドが使いそうな色合いの機体っていうのも気に入ってます。
Inspiration for it is very simple. The name of the AC, Misery Index, comes from a 1997 grindcore album. Like every single one of my ACs, I just basically steal album or track titles from obscure music. The red color was something that I knew I wanted since way before the game came out, and the reason for this is very simple as well. It's just that it's my dad's favorite color. The pattern that I use, the scarred looking right side that I always add to all of my ACs, but all of the splatter, the inspiration for this in particular is mainly my passion for tattoos, and specifically black work style tattoos. I have a sleeve on my right arm with this style, so initially I wanted to replicate that on my AC, but the actual design that I have on my arm is like way too complicated to implement, so I ended up going with just the splatter pattern that I use.
Next time on Armored Legends.
This player is a powerhouse of a fighter, keeping the knight style of playing alive and well.